Hello and welcome to today's video as we cover the supports going into MSI 2025, going over their stats, and then afterwards going to touch on their champion pools, then finally rank them. If you missed the 4 previous videos, we had top, jungle, mid, and AD carry. So the stats on here are representative of spring split in its entirety, playoffs and regular season. With support in particular, this role is least statistic based. There are many different types of supports. The support can do their job very well while being very poor in some of these stats. But there are some statistics that can tell us a lot about a player. So in terms of age, the youngest support here is, the youngest supports are Alvaro and Cal, both 21. Oldest, Kai Wing at 28, JoJo at 26. KDA leader, Duro with a 6. And Kai Wing 5.8. Are we surprised? Gen G and CFO dominating their regions. Are going to lead in KDA almost by default, but in the support role, sometimes you'll have KDAs of supports that are low. They'll go in, they'll die, set something up maybe for the rest of their team. On 3.5, he's very aggressive. It's no surprise that he has a bad, well, not bad, but a lower KDA. Lebrov 3.2 is quite aggressive as well. Kill participation, Alvaro 78%. He gets in and makes things happen. Nearly 4 out of every 5 kills for Koi have been due to Alvaro in spring. Lower end, 72% for Lebrov, 73% for Carrier. So the gap is not that large in kill participation in the support role, which is good. That indicates to us that most of these supports are relatively the same across the entirety of spring and how active they are. But in the playoffs, in the short, small sample we saw to get them to this tournament, we did see some differences. And we'll talk about that some more tomorrow as we compare the teams outright, some stats, the leaders in certain categories, and try and draw some conclusions based on those. ROI, damage divided by gold, On and Cal, 0.95, 0.91. They're dealing nearly as much damage as they receive in gold in the support role. That means they're very aggressive, which is fine. That is a way a support can play. It's the LPL. There's a very aggressive region, very kill heavy. But the lower end, Kai Wing 0.65, Lebrov 0.71. More particular in the case of Kai Wing. He's 28 years old, plays a more traditional style of support. Something that maybe, the Leona Nautiluses of the world, if you will. He's going to just go in and do his job as a supportive player. Not somebody that's necessarily going to pack a punch or take you off guard with some damage. He's going to keep his AD carry and his carries alive and set things up, etc. Vision efficiency, Cal, 1.97. So he's the most efficient in vision. He's getting nearly 2 vision score per ward placed, which most of the people on here are very high. Carry a 1.84 on 1.86. Nobody terribly low in the vision efficiency. You'd like it to be above 2, but the meta just didn't indicate, these guys just didn't honestly get great vision, in my opinion. Didn't get to 2. In the end, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Nobody got to 2. You could say that's champion based. I think it's people not really utilizing their words like they should. Gold difference. Now with the support, does it really matter who's ahead in gold? Not all that much in the support role. Because really, theoretically, you want your AD carry to be the one with the gold lead, right? So in orange next to the number, I have what the combined gold and XP difference is with the AD carries we went over yesterday. But Cal and On are the 2 leaders in gold difference, up 151 and 163 gold on average at 15 minutes. That results in a 274 and 263 gold lead as a combined bot lane duo. The leader overall in that category is actually Doggo Kai Wing. They're up 414 gold on average combined. Guma Carrier, 372, but you got to keep in mind some of Carrier's numbers are from with Smash. Lower end, Duro, minus 12. That doesn't matter. Him and Ruler combined up 259 gold. That's good. But then we have Elio behind 33 gold, while Artemis was behind 2. So on average, negative 45. And you may say negative 45, that's not all that much. Not really, but this is also against the LCP. What's going to happen when you play into Guma Carrier or Alcon? Like, what's going to happen there? You can't be behind at 15 minutes domestically and expect to do well against the LCK and LPL. XP difference, Alvaro up 80. But you combine that with Supa, they're actually behind 95 gold. 119 gold XP lead for Keria. Keria Guma, roughly 192 XP lead. 215 XP lead for Kaiwing Doggo. Busio, although he's at negative 202 XP difference, you combine that with Masu and they're up 16, so they're still in the positive. Faria's bot lane duo in the positive, 114-201. FlyQuest, like I said, 84-16. G2, though, behind, 19 and 169. Koi, a mix, up 81, minus 95. Gam, minus 45, minus 93. Doggo Kaiwing, 414, 215. BLG and Anyone's Legend, they don't have XP. And then, the LCK bot lane duos are ahead. Solo kills, I put it up here, but it's irrelevant. Lebrov had 2 in 34 games, so that is what it is. Champion pool. Widest champion usage, Busio and Jojo. Busio, 14 champions in 29 games. Jojo, probably like 14 champions in 32 games. A lot of champion usage out of them. They're not playing just your traditional supports. Lower end, we have Duro at 0.26. And it's a surprise because On's 0.21, 70 games played. Not all that many champions played out of On, which is not great. But also, we have a situation where Duro at 0.26, I don't think we've had any instance throughout these videos where the LPL wasn't the lowest too. So it goes to show you just how little champion diversity Duro had this past split. And in part, that could very well be to just the fact of the way the draft kind of unfolded. And we're going to talk about that more tomorrow with these teams. But the fact is, when you have Chovy, Canyon, and Ruler and Keen on the team, maybe you're not as worried about what the support pick will be. So that's kind of the deal there. It's a fun support group going into this event. Now on to the champion pools. Okay, now for the supports. On here we have the Discord rankings, then my rankings based on stats. Like I said, stats only mean so much in the support role. Kill participation, vision efficiency are 2 stats that I really emphasize from the support role. That's what I think are your 2 jobs. Set things up and be present, and then get great objective control. If you're getting shitty objective control and shitty vision efficiency, I think you're doing a bad job as a support. So, on here we have the core support picks. And I had somebody comment on my video yesterday, I forget which one it was, about how the champion portion of these videos is kind of dry and doesn't give enough. And they don't really, they think it's, I don't think they said it was useless, but the point of this is to indicate to us who are the most attached players to a certain pick, teams attached to a certain pick. Who is the most diverse? Really, theoretically, the lower a player is in the percentage and the number next to their name would indicate to us that player is the most diverse in what they pick, which is good. You want players that pick a lot of different champions or spread how much they're playing. Just one second. So with that in mind, that's why it's on here, is to show us who is the most attached to picks and who isn't. So, in terms of Alistar, everybody played Alistar. But only one, I think only Elio is the one that didn't play it as one of their 3 most played. But Lebrov, 24%. So 1 out of every 4 games, Alistar was picked. You can expect in a best of 5, he's going to try and pick Alistar. He's pretty attached to it. Kaiwing, 21. Busio, 21. Duro, 20. Jojo, 19. 1 and 5 in a 5-game series. Either they're going to pick it or the other team's going to pick it for sure. Braum, Cal. Cal's a big Braum enjoyer. Nobody else picked Braum as much as Cal. Leona, Kaiwing, Cal, Lebrov. So we take Cal into account, like I'm talking about before. 36% of his champion usage were his 3 most played. So 64% of Cal's games were not on his 3 most played. Good luck preparing for a player like that. And that's what's important about doing it this way, in my opinion. It shows us how diverse a player's champion pool is. Kaiwing, like I said, leaning on the Leona and the Alistar. Lebrov, 12%. Like Nautilus, Lebrov leading that category, 18%. So you look and you say to yourself, between Alistar, Nautilus, Leona, Lebrov's playing it over half the time. That's easy to prepare for. Duro 17, Busio 10, Rakan, a big Elio pick, 1 out of every 4 games. Alvaro, 1 out of every 5. Alvaro, 1 out of every 5, 25% of his games. So, 58% of Alvaro's games, Rakan, Alistar. You know what's coming. Renata, Kaiwing, and Elio, so LCP, big Renata enjoyers, both, 17 and 14%. Nico, Busio. Yes, Busio, Jojo, Elio, on. Played a lot of Nico, but Kaiwing, traditional support, didn't play Nico at all because it's not something I just feel Kaiwing, that's not a Kaiwing pick. Poppy, a big Labrov, Kaiwing, Busio pick. So there's not a lot of uniqueness where we have people that don't play champion at all, because the fact is the support role is probably one of the more stale roles over the last few years. I know Jay Beast is very adamant in the Discord about Nautilus appearing in the meta over and over and over again, and he is always somewhat in the meta because I think of his kit is just very comforting to some players, very basic, and they just are like, okay, well, we're going to play it because we're going to play it. But in the end, it's just all the same kind of champions. When it was real interesting was the last couple of years, we had some craziness. With Fearless, things, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think there were still 20 or so champions played between these 11 players, maybe 25 different champions, but the majority are playing these champions. These are the ones that come up in draft the most for these guys, and nobody is really not playing them in some way, shape, or form. Where in the other videos we had, oh, well, we're looking at 80 carry. Well, Kaisa, Guma doesn't play that, but Lucian, so-and-so doesn't play that. Ayu isn't playing Callista or this, that, and the third. Like, there are players that don't play champions. But in the support role, pretty much everybody's playing everything to some degree. So there is that. Now, in terms of ranking, people think I'm attached to stats. I like stats. I like leaning on stats for my input. The eye test, I think, is meaningless without stats to back it up. Anybody can have a hypothesis, but if you actually look through scientific theory and how one comes to a conclusion, you don't just go based off of eye test. You need data, you need results to back up your eye test, to actually back up what your eyes are truly seeing and interpreting. And people don't like doing that because that means they have to work and actually prove what they're thinking and just say, hey, well, all my thoughts should be valid. That's not how I operate. So, in terms of ranking, I like Cal first, Carrier second. I think Carrier is a better player than Cal, but Cal coming into this tournament is the bigger part of what's working for anyone's legend. I think he's a bigger reason why Hope's succeeding. But Carrier did an excellent job alongside Smash and Guma. I think Carrier is obviously very, very talented. Carrier and On were tied in second, so we have to take that into account. So I think I really like Busio and Alvaro a lot. Statistically, they're not very strong. But, man. I'm going to go On third, Alvaro fourth, Busio fifth, Duro sixth. Duro has to show me something at this tournament. I don't care what he's done in the LCK. I need to see what he's going to do in this tournament on a big stage and a big moment. We've seen Busio and Alvaro in those moments already. I like their champion pools, especially Busio's. And Duro has not shown that champion diversity and playstyle diversity that I like to see. Gen G fans aren't going to like it. Gen G fans can get over themselves. So those are the top six. I like Kaiwing seventh. I think Kaiwing is just your solid support, traditional. You're going to get what you get out of him. Alongside Doggo, he's going to do a good job. And then after that, we're probably looking at JoJo eighth. I like how JoJo has gotten around the rift, made things happen, especially in some spring playoffs. 80% KP, leading the team, very active. You know, an older support like Kaiwing, I expect him to do a decent job. Labrov is ninth. I'm not a big Labrov fan right now. And then Elio's 10th. Elio needs a lot of help. Imagine if Taki was on that team. Ooh-wee. But Lebrov is an Inter. He needs to get his shit straight in this tournament if G2 want to do anything past plans. Personally, I mean, I did a piece with Mize Esports and Eric Teixeira yesterday, and mentioned G2, and I think it came up in the conversation, if I recall, how I mentioned, G2's bot lane duo has played pretty poorly lately, and I mean, I don't think CB I don't think LTA South, IU, JoJo's necessarily better than Hans and Lebrov, but the way Hans and Lebrov have played lately, who knows what's going to happen. So there is that. But yeah, so getting this video out, it might not be as long as the other ones. I don't know yet, but it is like 90 degrees outside, and I had to turn the air off to do this video. So thank you for watching. If you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.